how old are you? So I was like, honey, I am 40 years old. I remember thinking to myself, have you lost your damn mind?
We think we know what we want until we have it.
Right.
And then when we get it, we really don't want it. And then when we don't get it, we really want it.
Right. Hello and welcome to the Black Swan Life podcast here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy, where we teach you, ladies and gentlemen, how to live life and love well as a black swan. The Black Swan way, in other words. So absolutely welcome. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, but only like if you have to. Now, let me introduce our usual guest, Coach Yvonne. She's here to say hello to us, and she's going to be having an amazing conversation. We're still waiting for the rest of our coaches to jump on board, but Coach Yvonne is doing a sterling job.
Thank you.
Holding the fort.
Holding court, as one does.
So today's topic is something that I have heard a lot of you people in the comments, as we've been doing, spending a lot of time in the comments. And this is in response to two of the videos I've done about, one is called The Truth About Dating Younger Men. And the second one is younger men and older women. This is a topic that's really close to so many of your hearts. Hey there, Swan. Have you ever considered that it wasn't you who found this channel, but rather this channel found you? The video you're watching didn't simply happen to you, and you didn't just randomly choose to watch it. I believe you're meant to be here right now because you are a black swan, even if you don't realize it yet. You see, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And my dear, I believe you're ready, but are you willing to embrace the rare and exquisite existence? If your answer is yes, and only if it's yes, I invite you to click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and like this video. Let the journey begin. And every time I do a reel, I get my DMs full of women who are absolutely falling in love with men that are considerably younger than them. And in the other two videos, I have actually spoken about the pitfalls, the gains, the losses. But today we just want to have a conversation, about stuff that maybe I didn't mention in that video and in those videos, because I know that you want to have more and more of this conversation, because unfortunately it is not going anywhere, and neither is it new on the earth. Nothing is new under the sun. This has been going on for centuries gone by. And in ancient times, and older women were used to train younger men how to be great lovers. So whilst this is new to our culture, and usually people would hide it out of shame and guilt and fear, we now live in a world where everybody's coming out and saying, hey, this is what we like. The younger men are like, we like a bit of an older girl. And the older women are like, okay, maybe I'll give this a go. Whichever place or space you're at in the matrix, it's worth having the conversation so that you can probably figure out where you stand in the larger conversation. Because if you're a woman watching this, you probably have been approached, if you're single, you've been approached by a younger man, and perhaps you've told him to go and find somebody his age, or maybe you've reminded him that you're old enough to be his mother. Or you have actually taken that step. I know a few of my clients who have actually taken that road and found love in that direction. It's not easy, but I'm really interested in what you think, Coach Yvonne. When I say younger man, older woman, what comes to mind? What are some of the thoughts that come to mind?
Do you know, whenever I hear that, I suppose it depends on the age of the woman, because my thing is, like, you've got an 18-year-old son.
Right.
Okay, let's say that he's now 22, and he says, Mom, I've been dating this woman. Oh, you're going to absolutely love her.
Right.
And then he, you say, of course, darling, invite her round for dinner.
Right.
And he brings in a woman who is years older than you.
How many years? Older than me.
Older than
dear.
you. And then, when at first it really, whilst we're joking,
right.
The thing about it is, if my son was going to bring home a woman who's older than me,
right.
I would have a lot to say about it.
Right.
Because I would have to find out from him, are you mad?
Right.
Because is there no one around your age?
Yes.
That would have been my thinking before I became a coach.
Right.
And now we
and
see
I think
things.
a lot of people think that.
Yes.
What do you think was that? We're going to get to how it's changed, because clearly something has changed. But why do you think, why that reaction initially? Why would you think something, what do you think would have been going on inside of you?
Why that reaction, I think, is because this is a young boy.
Right.
And you said it in the introduction that older women were there to teach the young men how to be great, good lovers. And if that's part of your culture, then that's fine. But on this side of the pond, that's not heard of.
Right.
If it does happen, it's happening underground that people don't, know about. And then when it comes out and you find out what the person's been doing, it can be quite jarring, to you when you hear. But you're teaching my son to do what? Because I think as a mother, we think that part of your child's life is something that they learn about on, not necessarily in sex ed, but
with women around their age.
They practice, they do what teens or those in their 20s would be doing. It wouldn't be with an older woman who would teach them.
Right.
And I understand that.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, as you rightly said, the Bible says, the older women are to teach the younger women.
Right.
And I suppose you would expect the older men to teach the younger men.
Give them a few.
Maybe
we should
pointers.
ask PJ for older men. If they do teach younger men. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if older men sit down with younger men and go,
I can't imagine that, because I can't imagine, like,
maybe a few
my
pointers.
dad, for instance, when my dad was alive, I can't imagine my dad sitting down with my nephew and saying, well, this is what you do.
Right.
And this is how you do it.
Right.
And, you don't do that. You do this. And if you do this, then they'll like it. I just can't imagine.
Well, maybe the gentleman can write in the comments, do you actually sit around, gentlemen, and talk about how to be good lovers? Maybe they do. I don't know. This is very interesting, but I don't think men sit down and have whole conversations. I think women do for sure.
Yes.
We definitely sit around and do, you should do this. Let me show you how to do that.
Yeah.
For sure, certainly in my culture. But I don't know if men do that. Perhaps they do. Maybe we do a little bit of research around that.
Yes.
But what I am kind of interested in really is kind of, because I have an idea of what I would think initially myself as well. But what's wrong with an older woman doing the teaching? She's got more experience. So you obviously would have thought she's taking advantage of him. What do you think? What's the ick that you'd have experienced before? What was the ick about? Because what's an older woman going to do? Give him a disease? Is she going to,
isn't. It's
ruin him?
It wasn't so much about what was she going to give him.
Yeah.
My thing was, is he going to use her? That was my whole thing about it, because you've got this young, virile, good-looking man.
Right. And
he's with somebody who is late 50s. Okay, the body's good. Yay, she's kept herself up. But after the pleasure is over, what are you guys going to be talking about? What conversation is my 22-year-old going to have with a woman pushing 60? No, seriously, you're a CEO of, you're used to having people do your thing, and here's this little chap who hasn't even got a job yet. He's in uni, and he doesn't even have a Saturday job to say that he's earning some extra money. So what do you guys talk about? He's doing graphics and art and that kind of thing. You have a multi-conglomerate that you're running, or you've got a sensible job. You're a headmistress, or doing something. What do you speak about after it's over, when your guys are finished?
But what's that to do with you as a mother?
But as a mother, why are you... Is it that you can't find somebody else, and it's only this little boy that you could...
So you think she's taking advantage of your son?
Yes, definitely.
That's what you were thinking. Like, she's definitely taking advantage.
And also
Yeah.
So what's wrong with you, my son? What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at this woman and saying, be still my beating heart? When you're looking, and you've got a 20-year-old here and a
Right.
50-year-old.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Tell me, what did I do wrong? Was it something I did? Did I not, did I not beat you enough?
Violence? No, I get that. And I know that obviously, I was very much the same. And I think there will be probably most people watching this right now thinking, yeah. That's weird. And I know you used a very extreme example of a 22-year-old and a 60-year-old. That's very rare. Usually, there's a 20-year. I mean, it used to be, quite small. Even 2 years used to be like, oh my God, he's younger than me. Now, 7 years, people don't blink at 10. It so much. 10 people can cope. But, we are looking at some couples that are hitting over 20 years. Yes. And I know that there's some people watching this that are going, yeah, what is going on? Has he lost his mind? Yeah. Okay, she's going to get her feelings hurt. She's being used. There's all of this kind of stuff that we kind of project onto that dynamic because it's so we're so conditioned for it to be the other way around. Yes. And I guess as women too, we're thinking, we're looking at a younger guy and we're thinking, but you're so naive. And so, what would I want with you? I want a little bit more experience or whatever. So I completely understand. And I think a lot of people would feel that way. And I think what's really interesting for us too, especially for those of us who are feeling a little bit triggered by the idea, I really want us to be aware that a lot of it has to do with our conditioning scripting and kind of the flow of nature, if that makes sense. Usually the older woman, a woman has always gone for older because older was the provider. He would be a little more established financially, a bit wiser, could teach her a few things, could lead her, has a bit more life experience. Yes. And because the woman emotionally matures faster than the man, it was better to get an older man because chances are they're going to be similar emotional age, if that makes sense. So that was the case for very, very many years. And, obviously things have changed. And those dynamics that used to make that the natural progression, those dynamics have changed. And guess what? Everybody's thrown the rule book out. Yes. And now we're in this kind of no man's land and we're doing, okay, does this make sense? Why am I angry with it? Why do I feel this revulsion? Why do I feel this situation? But you're saying that you had a change of mind or heart. I'm not sure if it's a change of heart or mind. And what is it? And what happened? What precipitated that?
Right. Okay. The reason why I had a change of, I've shifted my thinking. Right. Because you know what? As we get older, and the women that are dating younger men, these are women who've been married and they themselves have been thrown over for a younger model, a younger version of themselves. And they've still got a lot to give. And what surprised me is when you look at the stats out there, women between 40 and 69, 40 and 59, they're the ones that are still, they're still virile, they're still, got it all going on. And if she goes out to a bar, a restaurant or somewhere, and a young man gives her the eye and she smiles back, why not? Okay, as you said earlier that my age limit was a lot exaggerated. She's not going to be looking at an 18-year-old when she's out in her 40s, I don't think. But even if she does, it's a case of they would have had a conversation when they met. In the conversation, they would have talked about their likes, dislikes, what are you doing, what are you not doing, and, there was some kind of chemistry there. Because if there wasn't a chemistry there, then nobody, everybody would have gone their separate ways. So if there is chemistry there, and for whatever time this thing lasts for, why not? Both of you are adults. You're both consenting adults. You're not. If it lasts the time that it lasts for, and both people are enjoying themselves, and when it's finished, it's over, it's done with, and there is no regrets,
right,
then get on with it, you know. And it's not a case of there's this revolving door going around for the woman. And I get it as I've got older, and I understand when some of my friends are dating younger men, and you ask why. One friend said, it's the only people that approach me are the younger men, and it's the other way when the older men approach the younger girls. So it's kind of evened itself out, I suppose. The younger men want the older men want the younger girls, and the younger boys or men want the older women. So it seems like there's been a cross fertilization going on. Do you get what I mean? Everyone's getting what they want.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking we're going to get married and live happily ever after.
Yeah.
You know, and
there is really that, though, because I think where it was just, you know, obviously it started off with, you know, older women teaching younger men to be better lovers. The reality now is that younger men are marrying.
Yes.
Going permanent. It's a permanent situation.
Yes.
They're getting married. I have a client who's in her 40s. She's in her 40s, and her partner was 24, that same age as her daughter when they met. The world went crazy.
Yeah.
You know, her daughter was not having it. Nobody was having it. And, you know, they are now married. They had a wonderful wedding. Everybody was there. Everybody's come round. In every way, he's the provider. In every way, he's the leader of that relationship. In every way, he cherishes her, takes the best possible care of her. And they've been together now for, gosh, I don't know, maybe 7 years or so. So this is a real relationship thing. It's no longer just a sexual connection, which was kind of thought of before.
Yes.
And so we have to kind of really realize that, you know, I've had to, like you, sit down and say, well, if my son brought somebody that was my age or maybe slightly younger, I would have to believe that there's something he saw in her and give her a chance to get to know her. And because I raised my son well and he's a smart boy. So, and I actually, believe it or not, see my son with an older woman. And everybody who's met my son has said to me, I think he's going to marry somebody older, because he's always been such an old soul. You know, if you meet even when he was 7, grown men would come in and he'd be having these big people conversations with them. And I remember taking him to the barber shop the other day. I was with him, and this man came in and we're talking about something, and he chimed in to give his opinion very confidently. And this man looked at him and was like, how old are you? Right? And he was giving all this information. Then this guy said to this young boy who his son was passing by, he said, come here, come into this room. I want you to listen to a man, a boy your age who thinks like a grown man, you know. And so I think he would struggle even now dating girls his age, because they're not mentally, emotionally where he is. I don't obviously anticipate that she'll be as old as I, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know. And I think, you know, I would get to know her. I can't say I would have thought that way before. Now, I've got a question for you. Have you or anyone really close to you, other than myself, you know, because I'll talk about me in a minute, because you know all my escapades, you know. Yvonne would know all. If I die tomorrow and you want to know all my secrets, Yvonne has them. But she will never tell.
Dang. We can negotiate something.
Maybe if you pay her enough, you know. But have you or anyone close to you ever been in a position where you've been approached by a younger man and thought to yourself, good Lord, I would have never thought to do that, but maybe. And if so, what's the shift for you? What would have been the thing to make you think, oops, okay, what would have happened in your body? What happened there? Tell us a story, a fun one.
Okay. Most people who know me know that I was married, divorced, and remarried him again.
Married the same guy again.
Yeah,
yes.
Married him again. Yes. It's been 9 years now, so
yay.
Yeah. And during that
Gap.
wilderness
Yes,
period,
the wilderness. I like that.
wilderness period that I was in, there was this gentleman that was interested in me, and
Yes.
I thought, yeah, why not?
Right.
And I remember on our first date, we were sitting in the restaurant, we were eating, and he looked at me and said, I forget how old he was. I think he said he was 29, somewhere around there.
Right.
And I was, I think, 3 years older than him at the time.
Oh, dear.
And he said, I know I'm older than you, so you're okay.
Oh, is that what he said?
And that's what he said. And I sat there, took a sip of my wine very nicely, looked at him and smiled. I didn't have the heart to say to him, actually, love, I'm older than you. But I thought, you know what, just let's leave it. We're having a great evening.
Yeah.
The relationship it wasn't really a relationship. If it lasted 2 months, it lasted a long time.
Yeah.
And that for me was the only time that I've ever been approached by somebody younger. But when I look back and think of this gentleman now, to see the two of us walking down the road, you wouldn't believe that I was older than him, not because I looked oh so fabulous and wonderful, but he, like you speak of your son's an old soul, and life had really done one so young. Life had really kicked him in the googlies, and he was really trying to recover from it.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons why things didn't go so well.
Right.
But outside of you, I don't know anyone that who has or is dating someone younger than they are, whether it's even a year or more than that. And I'm at the position now where, for me, it's, you know what, as long as both of you communicate with each other, and not just communicate with each other, but be kind to one another. And especially for the gentleman to not use her as a stepping stone to better,
right,
or just, a quick fling over here, because at the end of the day, this lady has got feelings.
Right.
She may be, it could have been a couple of years before she was brave enough to go out with somebody after a messy divorce.
Right.
And now here's this young person taking a liking to her, wants to wine and dine her because he's got the money to do it. And she could easily fall for him, not realizing that, you know what, it was your placeholder,
right,
until the real thing, came along.
Right.
And that I don't agree with, because there's a person regardless
Absolutely.
of her age, she's still...
There's a human behind
and she has feelings and, all that, goes with
100%.
it. And as women, I think sometimes we do fall for the charm, he's taken such good care of me, and we can fall heavy for this person, and we fall so hard when he says, no, thank you, I don't want again, or she finds out he's seen a younger model. That in itself is enough to send anyone off a cliff. So, providing conversations are had, this is just don't get too attached here. My advice would be to the older woman, even though he may be saying the right things and doing the right things, because it's that added, saying, which is biblical, that says, by their fruits you will know them.
Right.
And if he's got a reputation, he always does that, then stay away, but don't fall so hard if you can help it, until he shows himself to be trustworthy.
Yes, and I think that's true probably of every relationship type. I think we cannot take away the fears and it's unknown territory. This is relationships outside of the box. This is a relationship that has very few blueprints. It's people have been hiding in the corners doing this, and now we can live out loud. Like you said earlier, older women are not looking their age anymore.
Yes.
And I can see the allure now why younger men are marrying older women, because the older woman has lived a little, she's got less chaos, less drama, she's more confident in herself. She, can create, she doesn't need him to provide, so he can, just be emotionally what she needs, because the younger man is able to give emotionally where he cannot give financially. So she doesn't come with too many, you got to provide, you got to pay, you got to do this, you got to do that, because she's good. Her life is together, and him paying for dates and taking her to special occasions is something he can do, because he's doing it for somebody who is capable of doing it by herself. And they just love the confidence of the older woman, and this is just in and out of the bedroom. It's not just, and I think what really surprised me, because everything I've judged, I've had to go through, unfortunately. So I've stopped judging. I was like, God, I hear you, okay? Because I remember the very first time, for me growing up, if he was 1 year younger, he was a younger man, And I remember you were there, his name shall not be mentioned. Yes. And I remember I would always see him and say, oh goodness, there was something about his aura. He's such a mature, gentle, everything I love, I'm not talking about my type per se, because I don't really have one, but I do, but it's more of an energetic type. He was very grounded, very masculine, very gentle, all the kind of qualities that I need, because I am feminine chaos most times, I'm like, hello, I'm really silly and playful and childish when I'm in a relationship. And so I like my partner to be the one that sort of anchors me a little bit and lets me kind of, be a kite. I'll be in the sky and you can hold me down. And he had all those qualities. And I'd been watching for a long time, and I kept saying to you, if I was 20 years younger or something, So he was just the guy I'd always say, if I was 20 years younger, he'd be my husband. And I think I'd call him, oh, that's my husband. He'd walk into the room and I'd be like, that's my husband. And it was just that kind of relationship. And so I think one day, probably after a few months, maybe a year or so, you were talking to him. I hadn't ever spoken to him. I had no real reason to speak to him.
Oh, yes.
Yes, do you remember? Yes, and this was in church, and it was after church, and you went off and you were speaking to him. Every woman deserves to feel valued, chosen, and cherished. But too many of us are left feeling forgotten, alone, and discarded. That's why the Finding Her campaign is on a mission to reach 1 billion women worldwide, creating a space where every woman finds her tribe and discovers her black swan magnificence. But we can't do it alone. Your support is crucial to make this vision a reality. You can make a difference by donating any amount of your choice or partnering with us monthly to ensure our work continues. Together, we can create a world where no woman is left behind. Join us in finding her, one woman at a time. Visit our website or click the link below to learn more. And I came to get you when you guys went, as we do, because, Yvonne and I, we join in each other's banter. If I was talking to somebody, I'll join in. Oh, what are we talking about? It was one of those things. So, I went over. And the thing is, he wasn't God's gift at all, under any, he was not. And I think he was probably my height, and I'm 5'2". Maybe he was 2 inches taller than me, right? So we're not talking about, any physical qualities, because I've always said to people, I'm attracted to a person's energy, not the way they actually physically look. And you know that, because you're always like, oh, Chengi will fall in love with anybody who's talking to her.
Yes.
But it's really an energy, and I really loved his energy. It actually reminded me of my dad, because he had my dad's sort of energy. Anyway, I had zero idea in my head that I would, be having this conversation. So I think you asked him, does he have a girlfriend or something or the other? And he said, oh, actually, I don't know what he said, but he said, I date older women. So that was like, oh. And then he said, oh, and then he was like, yeah, I've always dated older women. I don't date women my age. And then I think he said something like, oh, my last girlfriend was like 27. And you said, how old were you? It's like 21. And you're like, oh, that's not too bad. And I said, yeah, for sure. Because so I said to you, tell him what I call him. And you said, my husband. I was like, yeah, I call you my husband. So we kind of had this laugh. And then he said, what did he say? He said, how old are you? So I was like, honey, I am 40 years old. That is too old for you. So we had a laugh. He was 27 at the time, and I was 40. I just turned 40. Zero. I didn't think anything of it until.
Neither did I.
Neither did you, yes.
And I'm usually quick on these things.
Exactly. You were totally, because it was genuinely just chit chat. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I get to talk to my husband. Because I do that. You know, I do this.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a TV husband at the moment,
Right, the
don't
moment,
I?
yes.
I do these kind of silly things. And so, you know, he called, I think we got involved in a church project together and we started spending time together. And I remember thinking to myself, have you lost your damn mind? Because he actually, this is something really special that really made me see why older women end up with younger men and what's really going on that nobody gets to see. He actually called me and he said, I've never had such an honest, open, mature conversation with a man. And I'm 46, other than that one guy. Like, he literally called me and he said, look, you're like uber gorgeous. I'm totally into you. And I realized that I'm young. And I think he was a doctor and everything about his life was grown man, right? His life was together. Okay. And he said, you know, but I know that I can never take you home to my mom and tell my mom this is my girlfriend and you're literally like 15 years younger. I think his mom was probably 55 at the time. And he said, but you know, I would take care of you and I'll be whatever, you know, but basically he was very honest. This is what I can offer you, but I can't marry you. Like, that was that. So I thought, all right, then we'll be friends. You know, in my head, I was so naive. I thought, okay, cool, we'll be friends. You know, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then, you know, we're talking. I think we spoke on the phone for probably like 4 hours. So when people say, what does a 27-year-old got to talk to a 40-year-old about? You'll be surprised. Yes. You know, we were on the phone for 4 hours on that first call. And then we just started speaking every day. We just became so close. And there was such a powerful connection between us. And I think we went on one date. And then we just had to cut it out. You know, I really honestly couldn't get my head around the maths of it. I mean, this was like a 6-month job, you know, but I couldn't get my head.
Anything about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't. There was nothing ever happened between us. You know, other than that one date, nothing ever really happened between us. Other than this really powerful connection, this real connection of stories. And, you know, it's not about, oh, I run a business and you're a doctor, what do we have in common? It's about hard stories, you know, it's you know, understanding each other's trauma and really being seen, right? And I think sometimes it takes somebody outside of your normal to see you. Because I think in my whole world, I was seen as the, you know, influencer, the relationship person. And I think most people see me as what I do. But in that moment, he saw me for who I was. Yeah. And it was so nice to be seen and to be heard and to be known and to be understood, right? And so, you know, whilst the deal wasn't right for me and it ultimately wasn't right for him, I do remember really grieving the potential of that relationship. Yeah. He went on and married somebody who was age appropriate.
In inverted commas.
Yes. And, you know, they went on to create the life that him and I used to daydream about. So that was really quite painful. And I think people don't really understand what you have to give up, you know. And, you know, they went and created that life and that didn't work for him. But I always knew it wouldn't. Because when I met him, I knew that he couldn't be with what the world needed him to be with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that.
He was such a special human and he would have had to find another me and there's only one me. So, but I knew that he would have had to go for an older woman. He just had to. But his culture, his system, his society. And then he came back into my life probably like 10 years later and he wanted back in. And, you know, it was like, you know, I'm older now. I'm in my 30s. You know, and you know, I that was just a different time and a different season and that had to go. But I think that lends to perhaps giving insight to people about, you know, the layers to the conversation. You know, from the outside, you'd be like, oh, he just wants to have sex with her. He just wants to sleep with her because she's easy. I am not easy. Okay. But it really was a hard connection. So from that point, my judgment fell. Like, that was it. Yeah. From that point, I knew that even though I didn't explore that journey, I wasn't going to disqualify partners because they were younger.
I hear what you're saying and why it's the shift of the minds, because if you're coming out of a marriage where your husband never saw you.
Yes.
And he not only did he not see you, you were there to have his children, clean his house, do the dinners, go away on the obligatory holiday.
Yeah.
And he would, you know, you would have intimacy once a week. And you're supposed to do...
Thank you.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And to have someone pay attention to you.
Yes.
That's something that a lot of women who have come out of divorces, who are separated, have not had for years.
Yes.
And they are starved of somebody just giving them eye contact
Yes.
and listening to what they're saying.
Yes.
Even all she's doing is ordering a meal.
Right.
You know, she's
Right.
not had that before. And
Yeah.
that is an aphrodisiac.
Right.
When you had it with your husband at the beginning, when you first started dating,
Yes.
and then we become complacent.
Yeah.
And then the marriage doesn't work out. He's found himself a new person, and you're supposed to sit there and shrivel.
Right.
You know, this is why I think that it is more accepted now, because as we get older, we understand what we as women go through when our men do work.
Right.
You take care of the children, they do work and bring the money home and,
Yes.
you know, make sure the house is in order, etc. But it's at a cost, and the cost is you. The cost
Right.
is your relationship, and the cost is everything that goes around that.
Right.
And then the divorce happens. And what are you supposed to do? You're still young, you're still fit, you're doing the things you're supposed to do. So do you sit there and shrivel up? Just because a young man now looks at you and wants to talk to you.
Yes.
You
And
know?
I think a lot of women are
And
shriveling up because they don't want to. And I'll tell you one thing as well that's really probably unspoken and unsaid is, and I think what people interpret as, oh, she's taking advantage of his youth.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't particularly say taking advantage, but I would say that there's something so pure and unjaded about a younger man, even
Yes.
though he feels like he has lived a little, he
Yes.
hasn't. And there's something, what allows him to see you is his inexperience.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like he's not coming at it from, he's not some divorced guy
Yeah.
who's bitter
Yes.
and angry.
not jaded.
He's not jaded.
Yeah, life hasn't
you know,
done
the
him
best
yet.
he's been doing is
Yes.
playing game on a few young
Yes.
girls, you know,
Yes.
and, you know, his dad and his mom get on his
Yes.
nerves. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he hasn't, you know, men don't do well with divorce and they don't do well with breakups and it really kind of damages them in a way that women bounce back quite
Yes.
easily. Not easily, but we bounce back. And, you know, a younger man just hasn't been through those lives damaging,
Yes.
difficult things that darken his soul.
Yes.
And so as an older woman, you've been through all of that. You've been through the damaging, the breaking, all of that. And you're kind of having this opportunity, if you like, to relive your innocent days.
Yes.
To be
Yes.
to be young again.
Yes.
To be just Chengi.
Yes.
Right?
It's
Like,
the freedom that
you're
comes
just a
with
girl.
that, isn't it?
Yeah. You're
you know,
just
you
a
can
girl.
be you.
You're
Yeah.
literally just a girl. You're not like, you know, this embittered, you know, and I think that's the gift the younger man brings to the older woman. And
Yeah.
the older woman gives him the sense of, I accept you and I appreciate you. It's such a wonderful synergy and connection. And, you know, that kind of led to unconsciously me spending all of my 40s dating men that were younger than me. And what's really interesting is I didn't go looking for them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really funny because a lot of women hit 40 and men their age lose interest. Because guess what? Men who are our age are looking for the 20-year-olds and the
Yes.
30-year-olds.
Yes.
So I kind of got to a stage, and the thing with me as well is I meet my men in real life. And the situation is they think I'm their age.
Yeah.
The guy after him, I think he was 10 years younger. And he was like, you're not my age? I'm like, it's 3 months later and I have never hidden my age. But I think cognitively it couldn't, because
Yeah.
I talk about my age everywhere
Yes.
all the time. But in his mind, but you look my age though.
Yeah.
So he was like, but you're my age. I'm like, no, honey. You know, and I think it had been something I'd said to him, you should be with my sister, because my sister was dating an older guy who was probably age appropriate for me. I think he was probably like in his late 40s, 50s. So she was dating that guy. And I was dating somebody who was younger than me. So I was actually laughing and I was like, it's really weird because we're all kind of in the same room. And I said to him, babe, isn't it weird? You should really be dating my sister and I should be dating her boyfriend. And he was like, why? I was like, because it's age appropriate. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how old do you think I am? He hadn't compute, it didn't compute to him because he thought, well, she doesn't look that old. So, it became a thing where if I'm on the streets, it's usually younger men that are going to approach me, like pretty much 95% of the time. If I'm online, maybe it's going to be men who are more age appropriate. But even them, I think I went on one date with a man that would be age appropriate. And I'm putting that in inverted commas. And he was 50. And you know that story.
Yes.
I was like, I kept going, God, please, can you just bring me a man my age? Because quite frankly, I don't like complication. I don't want to have to explain to some young man's mother why he loves me and why I'm not exploiting him.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that these young men pursue you.
Yes.
Like they hunt you down. A lot of people think the older woman is out here looking for younger men, disqualifying men her age. No, honey. They're like persistent, and
they've got the energy for
oh gosh, they've got the energy and they're focused. They're focused and they're like, baby, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, as much as I enjoy their lack of jadedness, it's also what makes me not want to necessarily be with them long term, or because there's something about a man that's lived.
Yes.
When there's a responsibility and there's a gravitas to a man who's been through the fire, the wind, the rain, and still managed to come out on the other side as a loving whole being.
Yes.
And, there's something in that for me. And I feel like younger men just haven't been through life. Life just hasn't done it. So when relationship stuff happens in a older woman, younger man relationship dynamic, he can't handle it.
Yes.
He can't handle the hard conversations. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, I keep saying, okay, God, I'm done. Don't you dare.
And then what happens? We dive back in.
But yeah, I think I would definitely, I like the idea of dating somebody who's in a similar age bracket, maybe somebody in his 40s. I'll probably go down 7 years now, maybe not so much 10, because I think that person would be in their 40s. And I think what I would appreciate is somebody who's been married, who's had their kids, who's had my story. I think we would understand each other and appreciate what we found way more than when you've never really had it.
I hear that, but here's the thing. We think we know what we want until we have it.
Right.
And then when we get it, we really don't want it. And then when we don't get it, we really want it.
Right.
So where it's, we seem to be at a crossroads all the time with what we want and what we don't want.
Yeah.
And I think if you're, I'm only going to do that, or he should be in this bracket on this and this and this.
Yeah.
My thing is, you know what? Let go and let whoever comes along. As long as you do your vetting, as long as you make sure that your core needs are met.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't understand what it is I'm talking about, please visit our website and have a look at our dating playbook. And that will give you all the tips and things that you need when you're out there in the dating field.
Absolutely.
But as long as you make sure that that person is meeting your core needs and, they're not encouraging you to move your boundary lines and do any of those things, you know what? Enjoy the person for whatever time the relationship is, because until you get to know a person, you don't know whether they're your person or not.
Absolutely.
Everything on the outside looks wonderful when we find it, when we see it.
Yeah.
And when you're waiting for somebody and you've been waiting for a long time, you can get a little jaded in your waiting. So something comes along and you think, my God, I've got a live one. You may do, but it's not your live one.
Yes.
And you jump straight in.
Right.
And, he mentions the word wife or marriage. And you think, I've got it. And 5 years later, he's still hinting that you may be the one.
And then, what happens? I've got a friend who was dating a younger guy. And, after 5 years, like you said, he said, well, I can't marry you. My family will never accept it. I'm like, he didn't know that in the 5 years that he wasn't going to. I think that, to be fair, I agree. And and Yvonne's an encourager. The last time, I think the last guy I dated was like I was like, Yvonne, no. You never guess who I met today. I was just minding my own business, and this fine-looking young man, you know. And when he was walking up to me, I was like, "Oh, not another baby," you know. You know? But he was like a man, you know. He was confident, and he was, you know. And usually the younger men that approach me, their lives, they're together.
Yeah,
they're grown men, you know. But they're still like, I was like, oh no, you know. I actually said to him, you know, I said, "How old are you?" You know, because normally I'm quite charming and sweet and play, because I'm really very silly. And he was like, you know, I'm 34. I was like, I was like, introduce me to your dad. So he was like, why? I'm like, because that's age appropriate, sir. and he said something like, oh, don't be silly, you're younger than me. I was like, oh, good Lord. You know, because I think I actually look so much younger with no makeup on, because when I'm not wearing makeup, it's even worse. Like, it's like... And, you know, I remember going home and telling Yvonne, by the way, because your coach is naughty, don't mind her, she's sitting there. And she's...
I'm not.
She is. So I said, oh, Yvonne, oh my God, 34, for goodness sakes, you know. And Yvonne was like, all I hear is a man talking to a woman.
But it's
like,
true.
That's all I hear is a man talking to a woman.
So
I was like,
true.
oh gosh, I can't do this.
No, he's not declaring undying love.
And Coach Nadine was actually on a video call with me when he walked up to me. So Coach Nadine is like, oh, for goodness sakes, Chengi, you're going to end up with a younger guy. I'm like, no, just a little bit older, you know. And I think I'm very much a very old soul with a young spirit, you know. I think, and I can understand why that energy comes to me, because I'm super playful and really silly. And I like, you know, I'm really... it's a part of me that you're going to meet in person. You won't meet it so much on social media, but I'm ridiculously playful and very silly. And, you know, I'm like an 18-year-old in my head. But I also have a very deep and very, you know, a very deep soul. And you know, so I live in these two paradoxes. And so like you said, I think it's really about our audience, myself, anybody who's single, really making sure that we do due diligence.
Yes.
You know, all of the protocols that we've set up in the dating playbook and the relationship academy apply to everybody, regardless of how old or young they are, because the reality of is maturity doesn't come in age. You know, maturity is something that we decide to be, and things we put away, and things we embrace, responsibilities we embrace. And like my 27-year-old, when I was 40, way more mature than any man I've met to date. And, you know, you realize that, you know, let's vet them, let's select them. And, you know, I have done a few videos on this channel, on at least 4 of them, where we explore some of the dangers that come particularly with dating younger men, some of the things we need to watch out for, some wounds, some things that we're not going to explore because I've already spoken about them. So if you want to know what to watch out for, what is happening psychologically with him, is he looking for a mother figure? Is he just looking to get laid? Is he looking for a purse? You know, all of those things that we kind of have to think about. We can't ignore them. There are certain things that come with dating outside of the norm, if you like. Whenever we kind of go a little bit off center, there are some things, whether it's age or different race or different creed or different religion, whenever we go off center and we do something different, there are certain proclivities and certain little nuances that we must pay close attention to. So we've got 4 videos on this channel where we explore this in depth, but it was just really good for us to kind of talk about, you know, give people... I remember one of the videos I got told off so badly by these older women. They were like, you was just so close-minded. And I was thinking, honey, you have no idea that I only ever date younger men, and I'm trying to get out of this rut, you know. I am not close-minded, but I am very sober about the realities of being with a younger man. And so it was good for everybody to actually know that, yes, Chengi has and does date younger men. I'm not judging when I'm telling the truth, okay? And also just to really, for those of us who are like yourself or how we were, maybe perhaps opening their minds. And when I do these conversations on Instagram or here, what I do get in my inbox, a lot of women saying, thank you so much for doing this, because I thought I was losing my mind. You know, I'm in love with a guy who's this much younger, and you know, and sort of navigating issues of fertility, family, those kind of difficult conversations that come with it. And so I hope that those of you who are in these age gap relationships, and there are very many, I get a lot of them on my desk, if you're navigating an age gap relationship and you need some hand holding and you need somebody to help you navigate that space, not only can you get onto the courses, you can absolutely book a call, and all of the links will be in the description below. We're here to help you navigate whatever relationship dynamic you have, especially if you're dealing with a younger man. And so I think we might have to end this one because we've just talked it to death. But we are going to be talking about more relationships outside of the relationship box that we have known, because so many of us are navigating relationships in the 21st century in a way that is unprecedented.
Yes.
We are having to navigate feminine providers. So we're going to be going through that. We're going to be talking about living in different homes. What does that look like to be married and sleeping in separate bedrooms, sleeping in separate beds, having two separate homes, right? There's all of that to come as we continue our conversations on our next podcast, and even really exploring mating versus marriage, and what that means, and what we think about that now, and where we're going, because there's so many nuances in relationships that we want to be able to help those of you who feel a little bit lost in the forest of relationships. And I hope that this video was really helpful. If you've got any questions, do leave them in the comments section. And Yvonne, do you have any final words to say?
My final word is that, you know what? Regardless of what they say, these are the naysayers and those some within your friendship group and those outside, because everyone always has an opinion about somebody else's relationship. The only opinion that matters is yours and his.
Right.
As long as no one is getting hurt here, both people want to be with each other. And if you're enjoying the relationship and he's enjoying the relationship with you, then, honey,
live your best life.
Please, yes. Because you know what? In order for you to have been there and be the age that you're at, and a younger person approaches you, my friend, you're looking wonderful. Yeah. Continue on with being your wonderful self. Continue loving yourself. And, this could go somewhere that nobody ever thought it was going to go. And you could be the one that is married and having a wonderful time. And they're looking over there jealous, but can't say a word. And who does she think she is? You're the one that's having a wonderful time with your young husband, and look at theirs.
Exactly. Well, we are not promoting it, and we're not advocating for it, but we are saying that if you are in this dynamic and you need our help, we're here for you. We look forward to seeing you on our next video, but in the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots.
Wonderful. Bye. See you soon.
Have you ever felt like there's something bigger waiting for you out there? Are you tired of feeling trapped behind a job you hate, longing for meaning in your life? If you find yourself constantly drawn into the world of relationships, offering advice and guidance to those around you, then listen up. I've got good news for you. You are the perfect candidate for our Black Swan Relationship Coaching Certification. Join our mission to teach 1 billion women and now men how to build healthy, fulfilling love lives. And the best part, you don't have to do it alone. When God gave me this assignment, I knew I couldn't do it alone. That's where you come in. We need 1 million coaches, and it starts with you enrolling in our Black Swan Professional Relationship Coaching course. In this course, you will learn everything about relationship coaching using our signature Soulmate Attraction System course. That's responsible for countless transformations at the Black Swan Relationship Academy, and will guide you on how to set up your practice, providing support every step of the way. So if you're ready to make a difference, join us. Enroll in our Black Swan Professional Relationship Coaching today, and let's fulfill this great commission together. Visit our website or click the link around this video to learn more. Don't wait any longer to pursue your passion and impact lives through relationships.